Have you ever walked into a room and suddenly felt heavy, like the air was thick with something you couldn't explain? Maybe you left a conversation feeling drained, not because of what was said, but because of what wasn't. That's not coincidence. That's not in your head. That is a spiritual attack. And too many of you are trusting people who are quietly feeding off your light, who smile at you but secretly resent your strength, who shake your hand but hope you stumble. And the truth is, the moment you ignore those signs, you've already given them permission to break you down piece by piece. Here's what you need to understand. Not everyone who claps for you wants to see you win. Not every hand on your shoulder is there to support you. Some of them are there to weigh you down, to keep you from rising, to plant doubt in your mind when you're finally ready to step into who you are meant to be. A spiritual attack doesn't always show up as someone screaming in your face. It shows up as whispers, as subtle discouragement, as energy that makes you second guess yourself. It's the friend who suddenly changes the subject when you're celebrating your achievement. It's the person who only calls when they need something, but disappears when you need them. That's not friendship. That's warfare in disguise. You have to stop trusting them just because they smile, just because they know your past, just because they share your table. People reveal themselves not with their words, but with the way you feel after being in their presence. Ask yourself, do I feel empowered or do I feel emptied? Do I walk away with clarity or confusion? Because confusion is not of you, it is not of light. It is the residue of someone projecting their insecurity onto your spirit. The most dangerous attacks are not physical, they're invisible. They target your faith, your confidence, your peace. They're designed to make you doubt the very gifts you've been given. And when you keep trusting the wrong people, you are handing them the keys to your soul. You're letting them inside where they don't belong. You're allowing them to feed off your energy until there's nothing left for yourself. You need to start protecting your spirit with the same intensity you protect your home. You wouldn't leave your front door wide open for strangers to walk in and take what they want. But many of you are doing exactly that with your energy. You allow people with dark intentions to enter your space, to speak into your life, to manipulate your emotions. And then you wonder why you feel stuck, why you can't move forward, why every time you take one step up, something drags you 2 steps back. That's because you're letting your enemy sit at your table and feed off your blessings. The truth is, you already know who they are. Deep down, your spirit feels the warning, that gut reaction you keep ignoring. That's your protection system screaming at you to wake up. You're not paranoid, you're not overreacting, you're being attacked, and every time you excuse it, every time you dismiss it, you're training yourself to live in chains someone else has put on you. You need to understand something: energy doesn't lie. Words can be sweet, faces can be smiling, actions can even appear supportive, but energy will always reveal the truth. Think about the last time you spent time with someone, and for no reason you could explain, you walked away feeling heavy, anxious, or small. That wasn't random. That was their spirit clashing with yours. People can wear masks for years, but the way they make you feel will always expose what's hidden underneath. And yet, too many of us ignore those signals. We convince ourselves that maybe we're imagining it, maybe we're being unfair, maybe they didn't mean it like that. But your spirit doesn't lie to you, it warns you. When someone is for you, their energy uplifts you. Even in silence, their presence feels safe. You feel seen, you feel stronger, you feel more capable of walking in your purpose. But when someone is against you, even if they say all the right words, you feel unsettled, you feel like something is being taken from you instead of given. That's the difference between someone who nourishes your spirit and someone who attacks it, and you can't afford to ignore that difference. Every interaction leaves a residue. Some people leave you inspired, motivated, ready to go after what you want. Others leave you questioning your worth, doubting your decisions, second guessing your path. If you walk away from someone and your chest feels heavy, your mind clouded, your confidence smaller, that's not love, that's not friendship, that's not care. That's a sign you're under spiritual attack, and the more you brush it off, the deeper they get into your life until they've drained you of the very energy you need to keep fighting for yourself. So ask yourself, who in your life leaves you lighter, stronger, clearer, and who leaves you dimmer, weaker, and unsure? That answer is the truth. That answer is the evidence, because energy doesn't lie, even when people do. Not everyone who claps for you actually wants to see you win. Some people will stand right in front of you, smiling, nodding, even offering congratulations, but behind that applause is resentment, jealousy, or a quiet hope that you fail. And if you're not paying attention, you'll mistake their noise for support. You'll confuse their performance for loyalty. But let me tell you, real support is not loud. It's consistent. It's not in the applause when the crowd is watching. It's in the quiet moments when nobody else is around, when you're doubting yourself, when you're tired, when you feel like quitting. That's where true loyalty shows up, but too many people get blinded by the clapping. They see the smiles, they hear the words, and they assume that's proof of love. And then they're shocked when the same person they trusted is the one who spread the rumor, the one who pulled away when things got hard, the one who couldn't celebrate a success that outshined their own. Don't let false support trap you, because a person who cheers for you in public but secretly tears you down in private is more dangerous than the one who openly stands against you. At least the enemy you can see coming, you know where they stand, but the ones pretending to be for you while quietly working against you, they're the ones who catch you off guard. You can't afford to confuse clapping with care. Pay attention to how people act when you're not struggling, when you're not broken, but when you're rising. Because your success will always expose who's really with you. Some will step closer, proud of you, wanting to lift you even higher. Others will step back, a smile on their face, but bitterness in their spirit, and that bitterness leaks into the way they treat you. That's not support. That's sabotage dressed as applause. And if you don't stop trusting those false supporters, you'll hand them the power to hurt you in the very moments you should be celebrating yourself. The thing about spiritual attacks is they're almost never obvious. They don't come crashing through your door wearing a mask and announcing themselves as your enemy. No, they slip in quietly. They show up in whispers, in subtle comments, in looks that linger a little too long. They show up when someone dismisses your dream with a laugh, when they plant seeds of doubt in your mind with a casual, "Are you sure you can handle that?" They wrap their attacks in concern, in advice, in jokes, so much so that you start questioning yourself instead of questioning them. That's how they work. They disguise their envy as guidance, their bitterness as honesty, their insecurity as humor. And if you're not awake, you'll accept those words and carry them like they belong to you. Think about it. How many times have you been excited to share something only for someone to immediately downplay it? They don't come right out and say you'll fail, but they imply it. They don't tell you to quit, but their tone makes you second. Guess whether you should have tried in the first place. That's not support. That's a spiritual hit. They don't need to shout at you to break you. All they need to do is whisper enough doubt until you start doing their work for them. You begin shrinking yourself, silencing your goals, lowering your standards, not because you failed, but because you believed the subtle attacks planted in your mind. And this is what makes these attacks so dangerous. They're quiet, they're calculated, they're meant to make you feel like the problem is you. But once you start recognizing them, once you start hearing the difference between someone challenging you to grow and someone trying to keep you small, you begin to see the truth. Because people who love you, people who are for you, don't leave you feeling defeated after a conversation. They leave you feeling braver, stronger, more certain. Anyone else, they're not building you up. They're dismantling you piece by piece. When you hand someone your trust, you're giving them access to the most valuable part of you. Your mind, your heart, your inner world. And the truth is, not everyone deserves that kind of access. Too many people confuse history with loyalty. You think because someone has known you for years, because they've been around through your ups and downs, they've earned the right to hear your struggles, to carry your secrets, to hold your pain. But longevity doesn't equal trustworthiness. Some of the most dangerous people in your life aren't strangers. They're the ones you've allowed closest to you. They know your fears, they know your weaknesses, they know the battles you fight in the dark. And if their intentions are wrong, they won't use that knowledge to protect you. They'll use it to control you, to manipulate you, to cut you down when you least expect it. This is how a spiritual attack often unfolds. It starts with trust. You let someone inside your world. You open up thinking you're safe, thinking they'll honor the vulnerability you've given them, but instead they weaponize it. They keep it stored away like ammunition. And the moment they feel threatened by your growth, the moment your light shines brighter than their comfort zone allows, they'll bring it up, twist it, use it against you to remind you of who you were, not who you're becoming. They'll say, don't forget where you came from, not as encouragement, but as a way to anchor you to your past. They'll remind you of your mistakes, not to help you grow, but to make sure you never outgrow them. That's not friendship. That's not loyalty. That's a spiritual ambush waiting to happen. And the danger is, when someone has your trust, you don't see the attack coming. You excuse it, you minimize it, you say, they didn't mean it like that, maybe I'm being too sensitive. You give them the benefit of the doubt because of the bond you think you share. But let me ask you, if you have to keep excusing someone's behavior, if you constantly feel the need to explain away the discomfort they bring you, what kind of bond is that? True trust never makes you feel smaller. True trust never makes you doubt your worth. The people who are meant to hold space in your life won't turn your vulnerability into their weapon. They'll use it to protect you, to cover you, to make sure you rise even when you're at your lowest. Anything less than that is betrayal in disguise. Too many people bleed in front of the wrong audience. You pour your heart out to someone who smiles at your pain, who nods along but inside feels satisfaction that you're struggling. You confide in people who don't want to see you healed because your healing means they lose control over you. Pay attention to that. Not everyone who listens to your story deserves to be trusted with your truth. There are people who will comfort you to your face and then repeat your pain as gossip the minute you walk away. There are people who ask questions not because they care, but because they're collecting information they can use later. That's not curiosity, that's strategy. And the moment you realize that, you understand why protecting your trust is one of the most powerful shields you can build against spiritual attack. I want you to think about this. What do you share, and with whom? Do you hand out pieces of your soul to anyone who asks? Do you tell your dreams to people who have no dream of their own? Do you confide in people who never show up for you when you need them? If so, you're not protecting yourself. You're handing over the blueprint of your weaknesses. And when someone knows where you're weak, they know exactly where to strike. That's why the wrong person will always want your trust, because trust is the back door into your spirit. Trust is how they bypass your walls. Trust is how they make you vulnerable without lifting a hand. But here's the truth. You don't owe everyone access. You don't owe everyone your story. You don't owe everyone your battles. Silence is sometimes your greatest defense. Privacy is protection. People can't weaponize what they don't know. They can't distort what they can't touch. When you hold back and choose wisely who you open up to, you make it impossible for the wrong people to plant their attack deep inside your soul. And I know what some of you are thinking, but if I can't trust, then what kind of life is that? Listen, this isn't about living in fear. This is about living with wisdom. You can still trust, but trust has to be earned. It's not something you hand over because someone asks for it, or because they've been in your life a long time. Trust is built on consistency. Trust is proven by action, not words. If someone shows you over and over again that they are safe, that they respect your heart, that they don't throw your pain back in your face, that's who you trust. But the rest, you keep them at a distance, because proximity doesn't mean loyalty, and history doesn't mean safety. This is where so many people go wrong. They give intimate trust to casual people. They share sacred dreams with people who don't even honor their own. They reveal their deepest fears to people who have never once shown they can carry their own weight, let alone yours. And then they're blindsided when that trust becomes a weapon, but the warning signs were always there. The unease you felt when you overshared, the hesitation you ignored when you gave them more access than they earned. That was your spirit warning you, this one is not safe, and you silenced it. You want to stop spiritual attacks. Start with your trust. Guard it like your life depends on it, because it does. When the wrong person has your trust, they don't need to physically harm you to destroy you. All they need to do is whisper doubt at the right time, use your fears when you're vulnerable, and remind you of your past when you're stepping into your future. That's enough to weaken even the strongest spirit. So the next time you're about to open your heart, pause. The next time you're about to tell someone your dream, ask yourself, has this person shown me they can handle my truth? Have they proven they want the best for me? Have they been consistent? If the answer is no, then you don't owe them access. Because the only people who deserve your trust are the ones who use it to build you, never to break you. And until someone proves they can do that, keep your spirit protected. Trust is not a gift you hand out. It's a responsibility you give to the few who have earned it. Confusion is one of the most powerful weapons used against you, and most people don't even recognize it when it's happening. You sit with someone, you share your ideas, you talk about your goals, and instead of walking away with clarity, you walk away second, guessing everything. You start to wonder if you're capable, if you're worthy, if maybe you've been overestimating yourself. That feeling, that fog in your mind, that cloud over your spirit, that's not an accident. That is a direct hit, and it is designed to weaken you without you even realizing it. The wrong people know exactly how to twist their words just enough to make you doubt yourself. They don't say, you'll fail, because that would be obvious. Instead, they'll say, are you sure you're ready for that? They'll tell you that sounds risky, or I don't think people like us ever get opportunities like that. And what happens? Instead of feeling empowered to move forward, you start overthinking, replaying their words, questioning whether you should take the step you were ready to take just moments earlier. That is not advice, that is sabotage, and if you don't see it for what it is, you'll start living a smaller life than the one you're meant for. Here's the truth, people who are for you will bring you clarity, not confusion. Even when they challenge you, even when they push you to do better, you won't walk away feeling uncertain about your worth. You'll walk away feeling sharper, clearer, more determined. That's how you know the difference. Confusion is not growth, it's erosion. It eats away at your confidence, little by little, until you don't even recognize yourself anymore. You start shrinking before you even take a step forward. And all of it started because you let someone else's insecurity bleed into your spirit. And I need you to hear this: confusion is not of the light. It is not of strength. It is not of clarity. It is planted by people who want to keep you off balance, who don't want you to trust your instincts, who want you dependent on their voice instead of your own. That's how they control you. That's how they dim you without ever laying a hand on you. And if you keep trusting the people who consistently leave you in that fog, you're training yourself to believe you can't make decisions without them. That's not guidance. That's bondage. So pay attention. Notice who leaves you with doubt and who leaves you with courage. Notice who clouds your judgment and who sharpens it. The ones who love you will always leave you with direction, not confusion. The ones attacking you will always leave you spinning, questioning, and paralyzed. That is the difference. And if you don't learn to separate the two, you'll spend your life living inside a prison built from someone else's words. There are people who don't just take your time or your money, they take your energy. And you know exactly who they are, because every time you deal with them, you feel like something inside you has been drained. They walk away feeling lighter, and you walk away feeling like the life has been pulled out of you. That is not a coincidence. That is not just a tough conversation. That is spiritual theft. These people are like energy vampires. They feed on your light, on your joy, on your strength. And the more you give them access, the weaker you become. You'll notice their patterns. They only show up when they need something. They never bring anything to your table. They just take from it. They don't celebrate when you're happy, but the moment you're hurting, they're suddenly close, not because they care, but because your struggle fuels them. Pay attention, because these people disguise themselves as friends, as family, as partners, but their behavior tells the truth. They leave you exhausted. They leave you second, guessing yourself. They leave you feeling like you've poured out everything and received nothing in return. That's not love. That's not loyalty. That's consumption. And here's the trap. You tell yourself, maybe they just need me. Maybe I can help them. Maybe if I just keep giving, they'll finally change. But the problem is, they don't want to change. They don't want to heal. They don't want to grow, because the more broken they remain, the more they can pull from you. They thrive on draining the strong. They thrive on attaching themselves to people who carry light, because they have none of their own. And if you don't recognize it, they'll empty you until you're too tired to fight back, too tired to dream, too tired to move forward. I need you to understand, your energy is your life force. It is the fuel for your purpose, your peace, your resilience. And when you let the wrong people feed off it, you're starving yourself. Imagine working hard to fill your cup with discipline, with faith, with hope, and then letting someone tip it over every time they walk into your life. That's what energy vampires do. They never let you get full enough to pour into your calling, because they keep you busy pouring into their emptiness. So here's the truth. You can love people from a distance. You can care about them without letting them feed off you. You can protect your energy without apology, because if you don't, they will keep taking until there's nothing left for you to give. And you weren't put on this earth to be someone else's endless supply of strength. You were put here to walk in your own power. If someone is always draining you, always pulling from you, never giving back, recognize it for what it is, a spiritual attack. And the only way to win against it is to cut off their access to your energy and reclaim your strength for yourself. Your gut is the one thing that will never betray you. but too many people silence it. That inner voice, that tightening in your chest, that unease you feel when someone walks into the room, that's not paranoia. That's not overthinking. That's your spirit warning you. And the most dangerous thing you can do is ignore it. Because every single time you dismiss that inner alarm, you are handing power to someone who doesn't deserve it. You are giving them more access than they should have, and eventually, that access becomes the weapon they use against you. Think back to a time when something inside told you not to trust someone, not to share too much, not to let them in. But you did anyway, and later, when they hurt you, when they betrayed you, when they showed their true colors, you realized you had seen it coming. That little voice was right all along. The problem isn't that you don't know when someone's energy is off. The problem is you talk yourself out of believing it. You say, maybe I'm overreacting, maybe I'm being unfair, maybe I should just give them the benefit of the doubt. And in doing so, you train yourself to ignore your most powerful form of protection. Let me be clear, your intuition is not some random feeling. It is your spirit, it is your wisdom, it is your experience all woven together into a compass. It is designed to keep you safe. But if you keep silencing it, you're walking blind into situations you could have avoided. That's why so many people keep ending up hurt by the same patterns, the same types of people, over and over again, because they never learned to honor their gut. They never learned to say, something feels wrong, and that's enough reason for me to step back. The people who attack you spiritually want you to ignore your intuition. They want you to doubt yourself. They want you to second, guess those inner warnings so they can move closer without resistance. That's why they gaslight you. That's why they tell you you're too sensitive, you're imagining things, you're reading into it too much. Because the moment you stop trusting your gut, you start trusting them instead. And that's when they have you exactly where they want you, dependent, vulnerable, and open to their influence. I need you to flip that switch back on. Stop apologizing for listening to yourself. Stop justifying why you feel what you feel. If someone's energy feels off, that's enough. You don't need proof. You don't need to wait for the betrayal to confirm it. Trust yourself the first time, because when your intuition speaks, it's never to harm you, it's to protect you. And once you learn to honor it, same even in PII and FUL loose lessons over and over again, you'll see the danger before it reaches you, and you'll walk away with your spirit intact. The most dangerous attacks you will ever face are the ones you can't see. They're not physical blows. They're not obvious threats. They are invisible strikes aimed at your confidence, your faith, and your peace of mind. And that's what makes them so powerful, because when someone hits you physically, you know what happened. You can point to the bruise. You can say, that hurt me. But when someone attacks you spiritually, it's subtle, it's quiet, it's designed to make you doubt yourself without ever realizing you've been targeted. Think about it. Have you ever woken up one day and felt like you had no motivation, no strength, no will to keep going, even though nothing specific had happened? That's not random. That's the weight of invisible warfare pressing against you. Have you ever been confident in a decision one moment, then after a conversation with the wrong person, felt paralyzed with doubt? That's a spiritual attack. These hits don't come at your body, they come at your mind. They plant questions like, am I good enough? What if I fail? Who do I think I am to even try? And once those thoughts take root, you start tearing yourself down before the world ever gets the chance to. And here's the truth, most people never see it for what it is. They blame themselves. They say, maybe I'm just weak. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I was wrong to believe I could do better. No, you weren't weak. No, you weren't wrong. You were under attack, because if the enemy can't break your body, the next best thing is breaking your belief in yourself. And once your belief is gone, you don't need chains to keep you stuck. You'll do the work yourself by staying small, by silencing your own voice, by killing your own dream before it ever has a chance to live. That's why invisible warfare is so dangerous. It convinces you the problem is inside you, when really it was planted from the outside. It tricks you into turning against yourself. And the only way to fight it is awareness. You have to wake up to the fact that not every thought you think is yours, not every doubt you carry belongs to you. Some of it was given to you by people who wanted you weak, people who spoke darkness over your life, people who projected their fear onto your spirit because they couldn't handle your strength. And the moment you recognize that, you take your power back, because now you know that heaviness, that confusion, that sudden loss of peace, it's not your identity, it's an attack. And if it's an attack, you can resist it, you can fight it, you can rise above it, you protect your home, don't you? You lock your doors at night, you close your windows, you make sure no stranger can just walk in and take what belongs to you. But here's the truth, most people guard their house better than they guard their spirit. You leave the door to your soul wide open. You let anyone walk in with their words, with their energy, with their intentions, and you don't even question it. And then you wonder why you feel heavy, why you feel stuck, why your peace keeps slipping away. It's because you haven't learned to guard your space. Think about it. Your spirit is your sanctuary. It's the place that holds your peace, your focus, your strength. Yet too many of you let toxic people sit at your table. Let bitter voices speak into your life. Let dark energy hover around you unchecked. And every time you do, you're giving away pieces of yourself that you can never get back. That's how spiritual attacks gain power, not because your enemy is stronger than you, but because you keep leaving the door open for them to enter. You have to get intentional about who has access to you. Not everyone deserves to sit in your presence. Not everyone should know your plans. Not everyone should hear your dreams, because the wrong people don't just take up space, they contaminate it. They bring their chaos, their fear, their jealousy, and before you know it, you've absorbed it. You start carrying emotions that don't even belong to you. Their negativity becomes your weight. Their doubt becomes your hesitation. Their bitterness becomes your lens for looking at the world. That's not your burden to carry. That's what happens when you don't guard your spirit. And here's the truth: saying no, setting boundaries, cutting access, it's not cruelty, it's survival. You're not here to be everyone's healer, everyone's dumping ground, everyone's energy source. You're here to live out your purpose, and that requires strength. And strength requires protection. You cannot keep pouring into yourself if you keep letting people poke holes in your cup. You cannot rise if you keep letting the wrong people pull you down with their presence. Protect your space like your future depends on it, because it does. The moment you decide to stop trusting people who show you they cannot be trusted, everything in your life begins to shift, because up until now, you've been handing over your power piece by piece, letting the wrong voices shape your decisions, letting the wrong energy weigh you down, letting the wrong people sit at your table and eat from your blessings. But the second you reclaim your strength, the second you stop giving access to those who only want to weaken you, that's when you rise. That's when you step into a version of yourself they can no longer touch. Reclaiming your power is not about revenge. It's not about proving them wrong. It's about recognizing that your life, your peace, your destiny is too important to keep allowing attacks to dictate how far you go. Because here's the truth: nobody can truly break you without your permission. They can try to confuse you, they can try to drain you, They can try to plant doubt in your mind, but the only way those attacks succeed is if you give them access. Once you shut the door, once you take your power back, they no longer have a weapon to use against you. And that's where your strength lies, not in controlling other people, but in controlling yourself, in choosing who gets your time, in choosing who gets your energy, in choosing who gets to walk with you as you move forward, because not everyone can handle your light, and not everyone deserves to. Some will always try to extinguish it because your strength reminds them of their weakness. But the moment you recognize that and stop taking it personally, you stop bleeding for people who would never bleed for you. You stop shrinking for people who would never shrink for you. You stop giving pieces of yourself to people who never had the capacity to carry them. Taking back your power means standing tall in your truth. It means trusting your intuition when it warns you. It means cutting off the false supporters, the energy vampires, the ones who bring confusion instead of clarity. It means closing your doors to the attacks that used to slip in unnoticed. And when you do that, you'll feel it, you'll feel the strength coming back, the peace returning, the clarity you thought you'd lost. Because all along, it wasn't gone. It was just buried under the weight of people who didn't belong in your life in the first place. This is the moment where you rise, where you decide that your spirit is no longer an open battlefield for other people's envy, fear, or manipulation. You are not their target anymore. You are not their supply anymore. You are not their victim anymore. You are in control, and once you take that stand, no attack, visible or invisible, can ever have power over you again. And this is where it all comes together, because the attacks, the confusion, the heaviness you've been feeling were never meant to destroy you. They were meant to wake you up. They were reminders that not everyone is for you, not every voice deserves your trust, and not every presence deserves access to your life. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to apologize for protecting your peace. And you don't need validation from people who were never on your side to begin with. The truth is simple. Your spirit is sacred, and the moment you treat it that way, everything changes. You stop living on defense and start moving with intention. You stop bleeding energy into people who drain you and start investing it into the life you're building. You stop doubting yourself and start standing in the authority you were given. So from this moment forward, walk differently. Move with discernment. Protect your space like it's the most valuable treasure you own, because it is. And never forget, the most dangerous thing you can do to those who tried to break you is to rise untouched, unbothered, and unstoppable. That is your power, that is your victory, and that is how you win.